Welcome to the Assistive Technology Hot Corner, your one-stop shop for everything assistive technology. Sit back and join us for some friendly banter, news and notes of interest, and of course, assistive technology tips and tricks. Now, here are your hosts, Mike Moat and Israel Cazares.
Welcome to our Assistive Technology Support Group meeting. I'm Mike Moat, along with Israel Zarita. We also want to thank Ryan Harvey and Roger Allen for producing and recording our broadcast this evening. Of course, we're live on the third Thursday of each month from 7 until 8 o'clock Eastern Time. But some of you may be listening to us on the recording, and we'll tell you how you can get in touch with us as we go along this afternoon and this evening. But we want to welcome all of you to the show tonight. It's a special night for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, it's nice to have all of you here, whether you're listening to us on the recorded version or you're also joining us live tonight. We thank you for taking the time to join us. This is the third year that this Assistive Technology Support Group has been in existence. It has been a joy to host this every month, and I cannot believe that 3 years has gone by so quickly. But I can remember when we had our first meeting, and some of you were there for that, and it was in one of our rooms at IFB Solutions. Since then, we've expanded, and a lot of folks have joined, a lot of folks have promoted us, and for that, we are grateful, and a lot of folks have helped us to get where we are. Speaking of that, one of the gentlemen who has helped a lot and is my co-host is Israel Zarita, or Israel Cazares Zarita. I'll get it all out there this time. But Israel, it is great to have you alongside for this ride, and thank you for joining and being a part of this, along with the rest of the folks who make this possible. Roger and Ryan, the work they've done to help us has just been tremendous, so we're grateful for that. But Israel, good evening to you. I hope we can hear you.
Good evening, Mike. I'm glad to be on this evening. It's a very special day. Congratulations on 3 years.
Right.
Very, very, very cool milestone.
It is. The second reason it's a special night is because tonight just happens to be Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Today is the day that we set aside to pay tribute to that. A lot has been made accessible for us over the last 30 years or so. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're also going to talk a little bit about some of the news and notes and go over some of that during our meeting tonight. We'll also take a lot of questions, so I hope you have a lot to talk to us about because we want to hear from you. We also want you to be thinking about accessibility and the things that maybe you would like to share about it and maybe how it's made an impact in your world. I think that'd be kind of cool to hear from some of you folks tonight. Israel, tell them how they can reach out to us. For those who are listening to us on the recording especially, I think it'd be really cool to let them know that we have a website and we have a way to reach us all if you want to send an email to any of us.
Yeah, absolutely, folks. There's been a lot of developments in that area. And again, I want to thank Ryan Harvey and Roger Allen for their group. Mike, thank you so much for mentioning them as well. You can reach us at athotcorner.com. That is our official website where we will be hosting all this content. You can download the episodes, stream them on your favorite podcast applications, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and Google Play. We're on all the major RSS distributors. You can hit our Contact Us page. It'll have each email. If you want to email us individually, you can send us a text message. And that number is also listed on that Contact Us page. And leave us a voicemail if you have a question that you would like to be played on the show. Leave us that voicemail and tell us that, and we can play that on these episodes. So again, that's athotcorner.com. And of course, keep looking us up on YouTube. Share the YouTube link with your friends too, because that also helps the channel spread and get a little more traction on YouTube as well. So that's athotcorner.com.
Certainly glad for you to join us wherever you get us to, whether it's live or whether it's on the recordings. We love to hear from you. Send us a note, send us a suggestion, send us whatever you would like about the show. We would like to hear about it. Lots of news to get to, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the Android stuff, and then Israel, I want to let you talk a little bit about some things with Google accessibility as well. and then we'll go to the iOS side. Sometimes we start with iOS, but this month we're going to start with the Android news that I think is very significant. And of course, both iOS and Android usually release one major update per year. For Android, it's going to be version 13. For iOS, it's going to be version 16. And we'll talk about a little bit what's coming in those updates tonight. We'll start with Android 13. And I think the biggest news that we heard from that news of that release from an accessibility standpoint is Braille support is going to be built in and baked in to Android version 13. This is a first. Android has never done this. Google's never done this. You've had to download another application, albeit free, but you've had to work a little bit if you wanted Braille support on your Android device. Braille back and BRLTTY. Don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon, folks, because that is the good news that Android is going to have that baked in, and Google's taking some steps to address the needs of those who use Braille. While that is good news, the caveat to that, I won't say it's bad news because I don't want it to sound like that, but the caveat, so far as we have been told up to this point, I've been checking and I've been listening out to see if anything has changed, but the caveat to it is that their Braille support, at least initially, will not cover HID devices, HID protocol devices. HID, which is human interface devices, or human interaction devices. These devices are your newer models of Braille displays, i.e. APH's Braille Mantis, some of the HumanWare devices that are new. Those will not be supported immediately. I would think that Google would consider making these accessible through the HID devices and making Braille available as quickly as possible, if not in the opening versions. I can't see where they wouldn't, but so far they have not indicated that they are on the initial release. What that means is that you're still going to need BRL TTY for sure, because that does allow you to have some level of support on those types of devices. Now, if you have a Q-Braille, or if you have a Focus 40, or you have an Alva, or some of the older model Braille devices, you will be in luck. You will be able to get Braille support. So it's kind of it's a good step in the right direction. Love to see this being done by anybody who's trying to make their products more accessible. I think it's great, and so that'll be available starting in beta testing for Android 13, and I believe there's a version of that available. Came out just a couple of days ago. So that's one of the big stories for Android. And Israel, you had some information about some Google accessibility improvements that are coming.
Absolutely, Mike. Thank you. And staying on Google and Android, this is a feature that is coming to Google Works. So those of you that are familiar with Google Suite and use it for productivity, very much like Office, Google also has a suite of applications that are used for productivity, such as Google Docs and Google Spreadsheets, et cetera, et cetera. So Google has now enabled, through a technology called machine learning, an auto summary of long documents. So as you write a document in Google Docs, Google will now generate a 1 to 2 sentence summary of your document when the machine learning model thinks it understands the meaning behind your message. So you can modify this and accept the summary that the machine provides, or decline it, or create your own. This is intended to help folks with cognitive disabilities, or folks who are digesting a lot of content at one time, to quickly and succinctly get a summary of what they're reading, especially for long documents, etc. So this might be a feature that is worthwhile to play with if you use Google Works, such as Google Docs, Google Sheets, and the Google suite of office productivity applications. So you might start seeing that pop up here pretty soon. I'm not quite sure if they've enabled it quite yet, but it is a feature that they've talked about, they've announced, and it is coming. Mike, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
And since we're doing something with the computer, let me also give a little shout out to Microsoft and Windows 11. Some of their updates have been really good in the last couple of months, most of them anyway. One thing I will say that I really, really am starting to like a lot, especially in Israel jogged my memory when he was talking about reading and consuming a large bit of information at one time. Let's say you want to read it and just sit back and listen. The Microsoft Edge browser is really, really getting better. And it's right there with Google Chrome. In fact, in a lot of ways, it's better in terms of how much resources it uses on your PC. But one of the things that I really like about it is you can click on something called Text Aloud, and it will read your web page to you. So if you want to read a story or read a web page, it will read it. And the other cool thing is, depending on the web page and how it is formatted, it will read the story and not all of the links. And so that is really neat. Now, the one thing you have to kind of contend with, and you may be able to make some settings adjustments in the voice, but sometimes it may not read as fast as you would like for it to, and you can make those adjustments through the speech aloud setup. But it's really good. And I have used it a few times just to see how well it works, and it does a really good job. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. The next time you're messing around with Microsoft Edge, I think you'll really like it. Let's switch to the iOS side. And, of course, in honor of Global Accessibility Awareness Day, Apple has started talking about some of their new accessibility features that are coming in the next release. We would have to assume it'll be coming out in the next 6 months to a year. Of particular note, some of the stuff that they were talking about that I think folks can look for and look forward to if you're blind or visually impaired. One of the big things is door detection on supported iPhones and iPads. This will enable you to navigate the last few feet to your destination. Apple is expanding support for voiceover with over 20 new languages as well, and new voices are coming. Apple says that door detection will also be able to help users locate a door upon arriving at a new destination, telling them how far they are away from the door and attributes about the door, including if it's open or if it's closed or when it's closed, how do you open it. Also reading signage around the door, such as office hours or maybe fire information. A lot of stuff like that they will be able to look for. You'll be able to enable the announcements of some of these types of information, depending on your circumstances in the case of which you're using it. So I think that's very cool for Apple to include that. I don't know which iPhones will be supported. I have to think, though, it will be later models. That's just been the trend for Apple devices. It says here when your device detects that you're near a door, it'll let you know using sound, speech, or even haptic feedback. So that is really cool, I think. So you can look forward to that. And let's see, some other things. Voiceover users on Macs are going to be getting some new things. A new text checker tool to discover common formatting issues such as duplicative spaces or misplaced capital letters. When I saw this, I immediately thought of the things that JAWS offers Windows users with Text Analyzer. Thought that was pretty cool. Another new accessibility feature on iOS this fall, you'll see the introduction of live captions on iPhone, iPad, and Macs. This will auto-transcribe any audio on your device, including phone calls, FaceTime videos, conversations that you may be having with a nearby person. Users can adjust the font size of live captions for ease of reading, so that's good for those of you who are low vision. Also, let's see. some other things. I think there's one other thing I wanted to show you or talk to you about. And let's see. This is for Apple Watch users. Don't want to leave you out. Apple Watch mirroring is coming. Users can control Apple Watch from their paired iPhone with the option to use iPhone's assistive features like voice control and switch control as well. With Buddy Controller, there's something new that they're talking about. Users can ask a care provider or friend to help them play a game. Buddy Controller will combine any two game controllers into one, so multiple controllers can drive the input for a single player. That's just a few of the things that are coming in the new Apple releases coming up, and I would think we'll learn more about that at the WWDC event next month, so we may have some dates and times and maybe some projections as to when these things will be available to the public, and I would imagine some of this will go into beta testing later this summer. So that's what you have to look forward to. I'm really excited about some of that stuff. I think Apple is once again doing some innovative things. It sounds like Android is also doing some nice things for accessibility, so a lot of good news this week on that front. A little bit of bad news, though, to tell you. I hate to tell you bad news, but for those of you who loved the iPod Touch, it's going away. Apple said that about a week and a half ago. They will discontinue the production of iPod Touch devices. The last one that was released was in 2019. I think it was the 7th generation or a 6th generation. You can still buy them while supplies last. But if you want an iPod, you might want to get one because, one, they're going to be scarce, and two, the scarcity is probably going to lead to a little bit of a higher price. But that is news about the iPod Touch. One of the things I've noticed with respect to that, a lot of iPhone providers, Verizon, people like that, are offering free phones or buy back your if you pay off your current device, you'll get a freebie. And those are starting at 128 gigs. So you're going to have more room for music and photos and things like that on the newer phones too. And it'll be interesting to see what the new iPhone /iPad /Apple Watches will offer from a capacity standpoint. It's going to be interesting. Okay, Israel, of course, we have been talking about it this week amongst ourselves, getting ready for this, several conversations that we've had. Today is a big day. It's Global Accessibility Awareness Day. A lot of us have benefited from having things available to us that, quite frankly, 10 years ago, I don't know that we could have dreamed of the advancements that we have in front of us. I'm going to kind of turn it over to you for just a few moments, and I want you to give us your thoughts on the day and what this means, and then I'm going to come back and talk about our role as accessibility advocates, those of us who are blind and visually impaired.
Thank you, Mike. And a couple of notes before we move away from the news portion of the show tonight. I'd like to mention regarding Apple's technology that Mike was going over earlier on. This is going to work for LiDAR-enabled iPhones. That is 12 or later, 12 Pro, 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max or later. So if those of you that are familiar or have seen the way Good Maps works, they use the same LiDAR technology built into iPhones. That is what Apple themselves is going to start leveraging to start describing physical spaces. So I'm also very interested in seeing what the development of that is, using and taking into account LiDAR technology, augmented reality as well. That should create a lot of accessibility opportunities for us in the future. And one more thing that I wanted to mention, I had it here on my notes. It's Amazon has just announced that they are also enabling audio streaming for hearing aids. So for those users that are out there that utilize hearing aids and you have a Fire TV or Fire Cube 2nd generation, Amazon will now enable certain StarKey branded hearing aids to stream audio to that user privately. So maybe that user likes their sound a little bit louder, or so they can hear it a little closer to them. They can now stream that directly to their hearing aids. We can go over those features and how they work on a future episode. And in fact, I will mention on how to pair that on a future episode. But I just wanted to mention that today. So there is a lot of technology that is being released and announced on a daily basis, really. And this kind of segues really nicely into the prompt for tonight and the acknowledgement of Global Accessibility Awareness Day. Such an important day, such a critical day for those of us who are who need assistive technology of any kind, really. We went from not thinking about physical spaces to being very much aware of how physical spaces interact with the abilities or the disabilities of the general public. A lot of it started really thinking in architectural spaces. A lot of people weren't thinking really that curb cuts essentially were created to be an accessible piece of technology at the time for folks with wheelchairs, but it also benefited folks that have babies with walkers or strollers or any kind of different things that people needed to be able to access sidewalks. So from physical spaces, we transferred that to the digital world. And in the last 30 some odd years, it's just been such an explosion of access like we've never, ever seen it before. I mean, never in my life did I imagine that I would have a phone that was basically just a piece of glass that I would be able to interact with and access email and contacts and calendars and essentially my entire work and personal life on it as well. So it is important to acknowledge the role that technology plays in each and every one of our lives. Obviously, Mike and I and you guys as well are working people that are in the workforce or have been in the workforce or will be in the workforce who will benefit from the technology that is coming and from the technology that exists already. In fact, we wouldn't be able to do our jobs for the most part if we did not have accessible technology, if we did not have a computer that, had a screen reader. So accessibility matters, and accessibility will always matter. And I want to encourage each and every one of you that are present on this meeting and those of you that will be listening on the podcast, think about your role on accessibility. Think about how you impact accessibility, your feedback, your usage of the technology, your willingness to adventure and to explore and to understand what your needs are, and then get that feedback out there so that developers and people that are creating this technology know how to better serve the public. And that's the best way and the most effective way that we're going to advocate. I'll share with you guys a very quick story today. I was fortunate enough to participate in a program called ABLE, or Audio and Braille Literacy Enhancement. I want to give a quick shout out to them. And this is an organization that is dedicated to promoting the use of Braille and Braille literacy to the next generation of young children that are blind and visually impaired. So today we worked with children ages K through 12, and we read Braille. We encouraged the use of game activities that involved Braille, because Braille, guys, Braille is independence. Braille, if you're blind, Braille is your gateway to the world, to a world of literature, to a world of education, to a world of independence. And quite frankly, as much as I love technology and as much as I love to listen to synthesized speech, Braille is still my favorite method of accessing information. It's still something that I hang on to and I use every single day, both in and out of the workplace. So it was very encouraging to participate in that event this morning, and seeing how important Braille still is to the next generation of blind children that are coming up, and really promoting that. That is a cause that I stand fully behind. I'm a Braille advocate, But I also encourage each and every one of you to be your own advocate to what you need in your accessibility journey. So thank you, Mike, for giving me this opportunity to express my thoughts, and happy Global Accessibility Awareness Day.
Exactly. And I want to echo what Israel said regarding Braille. I think we all were probably exposed to Braille much earlier than we were a lot of other things because they just weren't available. I can remember when I was very young, Braille was my first thing. Thankfully, I had a teacher who knew Braille, who was blind herself, and those first few years in school were so critical because I learned the alphabet, math, things like that, and that has served me well even to this day in what I do for a living. And I think what Israel was talking about is a good lead into, I want to expound a little bit on the role that blind people play in accessibility, because and some of you have probably heard me speak on this before. Some of you may have heard me talk about this in our thing that we did last year. I was privileged to be a part of a Global Accessibility Awareness Day that my organization put together. And I think being an advocate for yourself is important. And part of that is education of those who don't understand accessibility. I do this a lot. Israel does this a lot as part of his job. And you all, whoever you are, however long you've been blind and however long you've worked at your organization, you are an advocate of accessibility. And as hard as it is and as frustrating as it may be, we have to play the role of educators. Because if we want these things to be better, we have to tell people about them. Sighted people are not going to just go find this information on their own, for the most part. They're going to have a reason, and we can give them the reason. And you can throw the law in their face, and you can say, well, this is my rights, and I have rights, and you do. There's no question about that. But there is a way to go about it. There is a way to do it. There's an educational component that is critical in making this work for you. There are folks out there who unfortunately will never be happy with their device. It just doesn't do enough. And they complain, and as a result, I don't know that they're ever happy with whatever any company does, whether it be Apple, Google, Freedom Scientific, anybody. But there are those who want to be part of the solution. And I will tell you one of the things you have to do in order to make accessibility work for you. You have to be willing to grow with accessibility. Growth is an important part for all of us. No matter how old you are and no matter what you're doing, technology changes, and it will always change. And as a result of that, we have to be willing to change with it. Things don't always work the way they used to. I'll give you a great example of that. Google and Office 365. If you want to use their full components of their email clients, sometimes using Outlook is great, especially for Office 365. I think it's still the best way. But for Google, a lot of folks would rather use their web-based email setup. Well, there's a basic view and there is a standard view. Well, standard view has been made accessible. There was a time where it wasn't, and it was very difficult to use. But there's more features there. And so if you want to take advantage of the features, you've got to learn how to use the standard view. And some people may not want to do that because it's tough, because it's different. I'm not criticizing at all, just making a statement. It might be challenging. And Office 365 is the same thing. Google Docs is the same thing. It's web-based, and I don't prefer doing my documents in Google Docs because anything I do is saved immediately because it's in the cloud. So I myself have trouble with that. But if that was the only way, I would have to learn how to do it because that's the way we have to compete. So don't be afraid and don't be scared of learning new things, because if our technology stops, we're going to get left behind very quickly. It will not take long. And I also would say this, don't assume that because we have a lot of problems with Apple devices and Google devices and things that sighted people don't. I can assure you they do. And I can assure you they would like their phones and things to work better as well. We're not the only ones that do have trouble. Now, we may have more issues and we may have more prevalent issues in that it really makes a large impact on our productivity in some respects. iPhone is bad and Apple is bad about breaking Braille support in their new versions of iOS devices. So in other words, they're iOS versions. So in other words, when 16 comes out, we're going to, I would think, have a few bugs. We always do. So the question becomes, is it so bad that we can't get around it? Or is it something that we can get through by making some adjustments on our end? And that's the way the game is played. Is it fair? No. But it's something that we have to do in order to continue to compete. So I don't know where I would be without the advancements of Apple devices. Freedom Scientific, Open Book years ago was a big help. Well, now we can do that with JAWS OCR. That came out a few years ago, and it's gotten so much better. So we have ways to be more productive and more efficient. And I don't know where we'd be without those things. And so I think a day like today is a day to celebrate that. Yes, we have challenges, and we may get on here next month and have plenty to complain about. But I think when you step back and look at the big picture, we're very fortunate to be where we're at today. And I'm happy that we have things that work well. But also, I'm not satisfied. I want to be able to compete when things change. And I want the accessibility professionals out there who work in the development stages. I want them to hear my voice, and I want them to hear your voice. So the way we do that is to participate and follow the channels, give the feedback, but be educational about it. Don't tell them this stuff doesn't work, shame on you. That's not going to help you. It's frustration, I know, but I think the best way to do it is to explain to them, this is my issue, this is how it affects me, and this is why it needs to be addressed. And most of the time when you have a conversation with the developer, and I've had many, and I bet you Israel could say the same thing, we normally get a response of, well, that makes a lot of sense. And one thing I would coach you on saying, if you have the opportunity to talk to someone in your organization about accessibility, the one thing I can say that will make accessibility easier for everyone involved is to make it part of your strategy. If it becomes part of your strategy, it becomes part of you as a company and as a development. And if it's a part of that, if it's part of the development process, it becomes part of how this system is going to work. And then it becomes a task, and it's included and it's baked in. And when developers get that, it's a whole lot better for everybody, and everybody wins. So hopefully everybody hope we can all, continue to enjoy the things that accessibility and the use of all of this stuff has provided us, the employment for a lot of us, and the opportunities that all of us have had. And I'm really hopeful that you will take a minute and be, glad that we have what we have now. Because like Israel said, years ago, I don't know that we thought we could use a touchscreen telephone. I was scared of them. Not anymore. I think I could use any type of phone, and not be worried that I wouldn't be able to operate it. So that's a cool thing. And I don't know that we could have said that 15, 20 years ago. All right, so we're going to open up the thing for questions. But before I do, and Israel, if you have anything to add, I'll let you add it real quick.
Yeah, just thanks everybody for joining us. Let me get that out there again. Thanks everybody for joining us this evening. It's always tremendous when you guys are with us. And the comments that Mike was talking about, feedback, same goes for this. What we do, we're constantly asking for your feedback. What can we do better? What can we talk about more? What can we talk about less? The more constructive feedback you guys give us, the better this product gets for you. And ultimately, it's for you, but I guarantee you that Mike learns something every time we do this, because I do, and I know Roger does, and Ryan does, and we all learn something new about it. every time we do this. And we're just happy to be able to provide this for you in an accessible way and in a way that's easy to understand and easy to digest and comprehend. And again, just get a hold of us, athotcorner.com. Contact us. You can find out all of our contact information there. So again, that's athotcorner.com.
And since we all want to learn something, I want to give a gentleman on our team an opportunity to talk about something that he does on Saturday nights. And we mentioned it last month. If you love classic country and you love good music and you love good entertainment, I want you to give an opportunity and give a listen to Roger Allen's classic country program on Saturday nights and I'm going to let Roger talk about it because I don't want to screw it up. Because, man, I tell you, though, I've listened to the show. I've actually been in the studio when he's done it. And it's an amazing 5-hour journey. And every week I listen to it, I learn something. So, Roger, I think you can unmute your microphone. And if you'll take a few seconds and tell everybody where, when, and how they can find this show and how they can enjoy it.
I don't think it'll let me unmute.
Not hearing him, so I may have to unmute him, so let me just... Yeah, I'm going to do that right there, and let's see if he's able to...
All right, can you hear me?
Unmute his microphone.
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
All right, I am on Saturday night, 7 to midnight Eastern at Sam Ayers, ClassicCountry.com. We play the greatest classic country of all time. We go all the way back. If it is classic country, we play it. We open the phone lines and try to play some requests as well, 516-900-4487. I have a group on Facebook called My Classic Country Saturday Night with Roger Allen. You're welcome to come join it and be a part of what we do. We discuss, we talk. It's a great way to get a hold of me. I also have a Facebook page, My Classic Country Saturday Night with Roger Allen. You can... like that as well, and message me through that as well. We give you tons of ways on Saturday nights that you can call and text or talk to me, whatever the case may be. I don't do it because of me. I do it because of you. So if you like classic country, join me every Saturday night, 7 to midnight Eastern. If you need that again, any information, you're more than welcome to. We will try to answer any questions that you've got. But we have about 700,000 plus songs, probably the largest country library around that we play from. We don't get into the obscure stuff that much, but we will occasionally. But it's all the songs you know, songs you grew up with, etc. So join me. All right. Thank y'all.
Oh, we look forward to hearing it. It'll be again Saturday night, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, and join him for that. You will absolutely love it if you're a big fan of country music. And the cool thing I like about it is the knowledge that he gives you throughout the course of the night about the artist, the songs, what was going on. There's just a lot of stories, a lot of music played, but a lot of stories told that just brings back a lot of great memories. And they play a lot of stuff you don't hear as much, and it's really cool. So I just wanted to point that out, and he's one of our favorite folks on this team. Ryan as well. Ryan Harvey helps us with our website and our development there. Roger helps us sound good and produce it, and I'm just grateful to have him on our team.
Mike, if I may...
Go ahead, Ryan. Go ahead.
You mentioned something about the website, and I just wanted to also mention another method that you can use to contact us. It will go public. It will be displayed publicly, but on the podcast episodes themselves, when we upload this one, you are able to put a comment in on the blog, and it will be displayed publicly, and we can respond to it. We can, if you have a question about assistive technology that you want us to tackle, as an alternative to getting in touch with us, our email addresses are firstname.lastname, Mike.Moat, Israel Cazares, Ryan.Harvey, Roger.Allen at athotcorner.com. You can also send a message on our Google Voice hotline, which is 262-345-2047. Or, as I said before, you can also comment on our WordPress blog. And I do want to give a shout out to some person from cheapestdigitalbooks.com. He said he appreciated what we were doing and loved to hear more of it. His site has books that are more of an academic nature, from business to medicine to mechanical engineering. Not going to say that I've read any of his content, but we are looking at maybe some sponsorship opportunities. So if you're interested in doing that, I am sort of the ad junkie, the voiceover guy. So if you got an ad or an idea for an ad, let us know.
Thanks, Ryan. And again, these guys do a wonderful job behind the scenes, and Israel and I are grateful eternally for all that they do. Again, go to athotcorner.com and look up our information. There's biographies about all of us. If you want to learn more about us, you can also email us directly from there and get in touch with us. We've made as many ways as we can think of. We're still thinking of ways. So, but Ryan, thanks for all that you do as well. We really appreciate it. All right. Israel, we're going to open it up for questions. And with that, we're going to say goodbye to the recording audience and thank you guys for joining us. And we will see you on the third Thursday of the month of June. You can join us live at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. You can also listen to us in the archives and, of course, go back to previous episodes and listen to some stuff that we've got in the past that I think you would really enjoy. Plus, we'll have some other content up there very soon, so be checking that out. But for now, we'll say goodbye to them and hope everyone has a wonderful evening if you're listening to us via the recording. For the rest of you, stick around, and we'll take questions.
For more great content, please like, subscribe, and share. Visit us online at athotcorner.com and download our show to your smartphone or computer wherever you get your podcasts. Have a comment or question about the show? Call or text us at 262-345-2047. You can also email each of our hosts directly using the Contact Us page on our website. Once again, that's athotcorner.com. athotcorner.com. Thank you for listening, and join us next time in the Assistive Technology Hot Corner.